Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Alcini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
What was the best day you've ever had? Think about that. What was the best day you ever had? Was it the day you got married? Was it the day you had your first child? Was it the day that you were on a team that won a championship? Was it 10 years old? Was it in your 20s? Was it in college? Was it after college? What was the best day you ever had? So welcome to You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. Justin Mirigliani. Glad to be here with you. Please chat in when you get a chance. If you get a chance, we'd be happy to take any questions or any comments. So please do. But what tonight's show is all about is your best day may not be somebody else's best day. And we talked a little bit about this before the holidays, that when I was a little kid, I couldn't understand how anybody can not like the holidays. How could it be possible that the holidays aren't a great time? And then as I got older, I figured out and learned that there are going to be people who struggle through the holidays due to loss of family members, illness, whatever the case might be, loss of a job and trying to make ends meet at the holidays. That's always tough. But this one's a little different. This one is how your best day might be somebody's worst day. And I think about the day that my children were born. So obviously they were in a hospital. Dr. Jacqueline, my best day was the day I walked across the stage and was hooded as a doctor. That's really cool. Yeah, that's a great day. That's a great day. So Dr. Jacqueline became Dr. Kerbeck. I think of the day I got married, the day I had the two children were born, my two daughters. And I especially think about my daughters, and I think about the fact that during that day in that same exact hospital, somebody was up in another floor holding somebody's hand and saying goodbye. It was their worst day. Maybe it was a child who was sick and parents were sitting around the bed as the child was passing away and had to deal with that. So one of my best days, that was somebody's worst day. What made me think about this? Well, right after the holidays, after New Year's, a lot of people were posting about the holidays and about the fact that 2025 was not really a great year for them. And I'm one of them. 2025 in my lifetime, hopefully, is one of the worst years that I'll ever have. I really hope so, because I don't know if I can take any worse. It was a terrible year. I look back on other years. 1997 was awful. 2007 was tough. Hey, there's Rob. All right, Rob. Yeah, back at it. And Rob's talking about this weekend. So yeah, this weekend we might have a little bit of well, I should say more than a little bit of snow. We'll see. We gotta watch that. But Rob and I track the weather, so in the Philadelphia area. But again, what I was getting back to is a lot of people were posting that it was just a tough year, 2025. And then I had one friend who posted why she felt differently. And she said, I don't know why other people are posting how bad 2025 was, because for her, it was a year of learning, it was a year of growing, it was a year of healing, it was a year of, just becoming who she wanted to be in the way she wanted to be. And I thought, yeah, I could see that. That was for her a great year. But I could also see the other people too, the ones like me who were saying, good riddance to 2025, which has been awful. And both are true. So I go back to what I said earlier, where the day that Amy and I had children, we were welcoming a child into the world while somebody else was holding the hand of somebody who was passing away and leaving the world. That was their worst day, whether it was their child or whether that was their parent or whatever was. That's going to be tough. And the day that our first child was born, Alexandra, on the news, we were watching the news before she was born. She was born just after 5 o'clock on that October 2nd, back in 2020. Sorry, 2006. And that day, there was a shooting at a school, and it was an Amish school. It was in the Amish community somewhere in Pennsylvania. And there was a massive shooting, and children were killed. And for parents there, it was the worst day of their lives. And yet I'm sitting in a hospital just a few hours away from becoming a father for the first time. One of the best days I'll ever have. It's incredible to me how that can really be, but it is. It's the way life works. So I try to keep that in mind, and I hope other people will as well, that you may look at a day, a week, a month, a year, and to you, it's great. You've healed, you've grown, you maybe you made a lot of money, maybe you bought your first house, maybe you had your first child, whatever it is, but something great happened. That doesn't mean it happened for everybody else. I have a friend from high school, and she and I don't really see each other than Facebook. And right after Christmas, right after Christmas, I guess a couple of days after Christmas, she had a fire in her apartment, and her husband was killed, and she was in the hospital fighting for her life. Now, she did recover, and she's getting better by the day, but that day for me wasn't a bad day. I think it was my mother's birthday, actually. So we were celebrating and having a good time in between the holidays and her birthday, and we went out to dinner and all the fun things that come along with that. But for her, that was the worst day of her life. She lost her husband. She almost lost her own life. And that will continue. So for her, 2026 is probably going to be a year that's just brutal, because she's got to process what's going on. It's not something that she's going to be able to say, well, you know what, it's over now, we're starting a new year. I mean, it's great that some people can do that, but for her, or anybody in that kind of position, they can't. There's no way that you're going to be able. It's 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago. So we're all going to have great days. We're all going to have horrendous days. That's just how life is. But being sensitive to people who are struggling, and taking into consideration that not everybody's enjoying what you're enjoying is important. I think that we have to keep that in mind as we go forward. We're all experiencing loss and sometimes gain. People talk about losing their job. People talk about getting a new job. I'm hoping this year that I find a company to work for. There are doors closed in 2025. Hopefully doors will open in 2026. That's the hope, that it's going to be a better year. That's going to be a better time. And in my 2026, I'm hoping is going to be great. That doesn't mean everyone's is going to be great. Next year at this time, somebody might be posting how terrible 2026 was, while I'm posting, hey, everything went really well in 2026, and we got some great things ahead, and really looking forward to 2027. Somebody else might not be in that position. And that's, again, very difficult for me to reconcile. It's tough because you when you're happy, you think everybody's happy. That's just the way we are. We forget that somebody else might be suffering. Because I saw people reply to her post. This friend of mine from college, and they said, well, what do you mean 2025 was good? Well, for me, it was terrible. For yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it happens. Yeah, I look great things happen to me back in my childhood. There are days that I would love to relive. Winning a hockey championship at 10 years old. It felt like it was a world championship. You don't realize how minimal it really is at that age. At that age, it's like euphoria because you're 10 years old and you think you're a big deal because you've won a championship. Well, as you get older, you realize that, those things are not, a Stanley Cup or, winning a World Series. Those are minor events, but when you're 10 years old, it's not a minor event. So I look back on the day that we won that championship and I think, wow, that was just an amazing day. And how I wish I could go back to that moment. How much I wish I could relive that. Reliving parties that we had growing up, great days. But again, for somebody else, those days weren't great. Some people might look at the 80s and say they were terrible. I think of people like John Walsh. John Walsh lost his son Adam Walsh in 1981. And while he's recovered to the extent that you can recover from the loss of a child, I'm sure he doesn't look back on the 80s as fondly as I do. I'm sure he looks at the 80s and thinks to himself, what a terrible decade that was because he lost a child right at the beginning of the decade in 1981. Adam Walsh was abducted in Florida, Hollywood, Florida, from the Sears store down in Florida, and then was found later. And for any parent, that's the worst nightmare. I mean, how do you get over something like that? Another one, I was talking to somebody today, and it's 40 years ago. And we're going to do a show on this 40-year anniversary of the Space Shuttle Challenger exploding. 40 years ago. It's hard to believe. I remember I was in 5th grade in math class, and they came over the loudspeaker and told us that made an announcement. The principal made an announcement that the Challenger had exploded, and we'll get more into that in the other show. But 2 days before that was the Super Bowl, and the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl. And they were the team that really was popular because they did the Super Bowl shuffle, and it was exciting. And there was William the Refrigerator Perry, who became a phenomenon, and Walter Payton and all these great players. And that was on the 19th. I'm sorry, not the 19th, the 26th of January, which obviously was a Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. So people in Chicago are euphoric. I mean, they're thrilled. The players themselves, dream come true. Everything's great. This is wonderful. And this is something that's going to be celebrated for days and days and days, maybe even weeks. And 2 days later, there's a national tragedy that completely overshadowed the Super Bowl. People talked about the Super Bowl on Monday. I guarantee you they weren't talking about it on Tuesday because something way bigger happened that kind of got in the way. So their greatest moment, those players who finally got to the top of their profession, finally won the biggest thing in the world, and by Tuesday morning, they're still elated. I mean, I'm sure Monday was a recovery day, and then Tuesday was probably a day where they would celebrate together and go out, and then something like that happens. So on one of their best days, maybe the best day of their entire life, or one of them, was a terrible day for 7 families who lost loved ones on the Challenger space shuttle. It's hard to believe that one day, one moment, one point in time can be so great for one person or multiple people and so terrible for another. And it's something that I think about a lot. I think about good days that I have ahead of me that I hope are going to happen. And I realize that there are terrible days that are ahead of me that I can't do anything about. I can't stop it. And on those days, I'll be thinking about on the good days, at some point, I'll be thinking about, what's somebody else going through right now that today is so hard for them, where as for me, today is so great. And on the days when things are horrible for me, I'll wonder what's going on in somebody else's life that is just wonderful. Maybe they're on a vacation and it's the vacation they've been waiting to go on for a lifetime. You know, maybe it's their wedding day. On that same wedding day, somebody's getting divorced. Just like when somebody has a baby, somebody's saying goodbye to somebody who's dying. And it's so, it just puts into perspective how sweet life is and how short it is. It's really not, we're a blip in time. We're a blip in time. It goes so fast. I look at my own kids being 19 and 14, and it seems like yesterday that they were little kids, just born. Sometimes I hear the year 2000, and I think, oh yeah, that's recently, and it's not. It's 26 years ago. Or somebody mentions the year 1995, and I think, oh, that wasn't so long ago. Yeah, it was. It was 31 years ago. It's very difficult to see that. I mean, I look at myself, and I'm 51 years old. It's like, where did that time go? How did that happen? It seems like a very short time ago, I was in my 20s, and now I'm not. And I think these things start to. You don't think about these things until you get a little bit older. I think it's very difficult for young people. I know it was for me. I didn't really put this stuff together until I was older. It was not on my radar when I was 19 or 10, 12, 15, 19. Even in my 20s, it wasn't on my radar that good days for me were bad days for other people. Bad days for me were good days for other people. I didn't even think about it. It wasn't something that came to mind at all. Why would it? You're young and you think everything's going to work out perfectly. And you think, I'm young and I'm going to always be young. You don't realize that time will march and you're going to get older. When I was 19, I remember working with a guy who was 40. And I thought, man, it's got to be, so tough to know that, you're old. I thought it was old. I looked at 40 and I thought, man, that's an older guy, and probably half your life's over by then. And I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be 40. And now I'm 11 years past that, and I think it just happens. It just happens. You don't expect it to happen when you're little, when you're young. 19 is not little, but 19 is young. Now I have a 19-year-old daughter, and I look at her and I see the young child that was there, but I also see the adult woman that she is. And as a father, it's tough to piece that together and actually see, when you see both, it's a little bit difficult. Puts a smile on your face because you see what she's grown into, but you also miss those earlier times. The other thing when I think about this is when I go to a funeral, not to be, a Donnie Downer, but we all go to them. And I always think to myself, the people driving by, heading somewhere else, whether it's to work or somewhere else, their life is going on and they're having a normal day. They're enjoying the day, hopefully, or they're getting through the day if that's what it is. But they are driving by and they don't feel any of the grief that the people around you are feeling. I always think of that in a funeral procession when I'm driving from the church to the cemetery, and you're in that line, in that car line, and other cars are going by, and at least for me, I wonder, what's going on? Do they have the radio on? Are they singing along to the radio? Are they headed somewhere to buy something for a party? Are they just going to work? Their life is not out of balance at that point. yours is, especially if it's somebody very, very close to you, somebody who you love. The last one that I faced was my uncle a year ago, a little over a year ago. And I thought the same thing as I was walking to my car and looking around the driveway and out into the road. We're struggling to get through that day, and other people are driving by, and I just wonder what their day was like. And then the flip of that is when I see a funeral procession, I think about those people who are in it. What are they going through right now? What are they feeling right now? And I put myself in that position, and not always on purpose. Sometimes it just happens. And I start to think about it, and I start to wonder. I mean, who was that person? What was the relationship between that person and the people who are in that procession? I mean, obviously, it's somebody's husband or wife, somebody's aunt or uncle, somebody's grandfather or grandmother, or worse, if it's a child who passed away. I have no idea how. I know a few people who've lost children, and I don't know how you recover from that. I really can't even imagine that you do recover from that. I think what happens is I don't know, for me, it'd be living out the string. I don't think I would really function as a normal human being anymore. I just don't. And hopefully I'll never have to figure that out or find out. But that I can't help but think about those things when I go by, or an ambulance that goes by. You don't know what's going on in that ambulance. It might not be super serious, but it could be. It could be somebody who's got just a few moments to live or has already died. One of the ones I could think about is when I was in college. I was graduating in 1997, and we had a senior week. And one of the events during senior, we had a bunch of events, and I'm sure a lot of people who've gone to college know what I'm talking about. But senior week, we had T-shirts made, and we did a lot of fun stuff, games and just enjoying each other, because we knew that we were running out of time, and we weren't going to see each other as much anymore. And some of us weren't going to see each other at all anymore, because some people lived out of state and whatever. We had a band come, and they were a pretty popular band in the Philadelphia area. They were called Phoebe and Brian. And Phoebe and Brian were just great. I mean, they came, and they had really become close friends with a lot of the girls who were in our graduating class. They were really, really close. And Phoebe was the singer, the lead singer, and Brian, he was backup singer, and he played the instrument. I think Phoebe played the guitar too, but whatever. So it was, I think, Wednesday of that week that Phoebe and Brian were there, and we were enjoying it. And like I said, she befriended a lot of the girls in the class, and she would call them her Cabrini girls, because I went to Cabrini College, and the girls were really close with her from earlier in the year, because everybody was just turning of age, 21, 22 years old, and then graduating college. So Wednesday, we have Phoebe and Brian there, and Phoebe was a beautiful, beautiful girl, very in her 20s, incredibly gorgeous eyes. I mean, and all the guys were saying, "Wow, that is a beautiful girl," and we were, talking about how cool it would be to date a girl like that, and what guys 2021 talk about. And we had a good time, and the girls had fun seeing their friend on stage and being a part of the Cabrini family. And Phoebe said to them on Saturday, the night before graduation, we graduated on Sunday, May 18th. So May 17th, Saturday, Phoebe said, "Come to the bar. We're doing a bar, playing at a bar Saturday night, and I'm going to have a special surprise for you." And she said that to all the Cabrini girls. I mean, that seemed great for those girls. That night, that Saturday night, we had a final party. And all of a sudden, those Cabrini girls walked in, and every one of them was crying and just devastated. And none of us who were there knew what was going on. We just were kind of shocked to see them so upset. Like, what could be so bad? And they told us that Phoebe was in a car accident that day and died. And she obviously nobody expected that to happen to a 20-some-year-old woman, and those girls being so close to her the night before graduation. So for those girls, graduation may not have been, I wouldn't think would be a day that they look back on with a whole lot of fondness. While other people who didn't know Phoebe might have looked at that like Dr. Jacqueline did when she walked across the stage. Some people might have been the first people to graduate college in their family. And for them, it was the greatest day of their lives. But for those girls, it wasn't. It was a day where there was a cloud over it that overshadowed 4 years worth of work and getting to the point where they were ready to graduate from school. It was a great day for some. It wasn't a great day for others. For me personally, that was a rough that graduation. I don't ever look at the tape of it. I have the tape of it. Back then, yes, we had VHS tapes. I have the tape that my parents took, and also the one that was the school took, and we bought. But I can't watch that. I can't watch that because I know what I was feeling on that stage, and what I was feeling was, I can't believe this is over. I loved that place. I loved everything about it. I loved mostly the people, but it was a joy to walk on that campus every day and to be there, and just it's such a sweet spot in your life where you're an adult and a child at the same time. You do not have the responsibilities that the full-blown adults have. You're in school. Yeah, you might work, but you don't work 40 hours a week. You don't have a mortgage. You don't have children for the most part. Obviously, some people did, but for the most part, I didn't have children, and I work part-time, and I was able to go to parties, and I was able to go to school. I literally would go to school at 7 o'clock in the morning, even if I didn't have class until 1 o'clock. And people would ask me, "What are you doing here? You don't have class until 1 o'clock. Why are you here at 7 o'clock in the morning?" And I just wanted to be with people. I just wanted to be around them. And one group of people would have to go off to class, and then other people would show up, and I just started all over again and just have a good time with the new people and just enjoy it. And this went on for all 4 years. And I used to call Friday my depression day because Friday morning it was bustling. You had all these people, all these kids there. And little by little, the common area, which we called the wigwam, would start to empty little by little. So yeah, it went from bustling to kind of busy to not so busy to a few people there to almost nobody there. And then finally, I was the only one there. I would look around, and I think, just a few hours ago, this place is packed. For some people, that weekend was great. That Friday, like they couldn't wait till Friday because to them, school was drudgery. They didn't want to be there. They were just going there because they had to go to school and they had to get an education. But for me, I wasn't elated on a Friday. I didn't look at Fridays like, wow, this is great. The weekend's going to start. It was the opposite. It was the opposite. I was like, I can't wait till Monday so I could be back in school. It's the same idea. The day that people were most excited about at that time for them was the day that I hated. And so graduation, I called it. I actually wrote not a piece, but I wrote a post in our Cabrini Facebook page, and I called it the Ultimate Friday. That was the name I gave it, the Ultimate Friday, because graduation, you got hundreds and hundreds of kids there, and parents and grandparents, and this place is again bustling. And I was so depressed about leaving that when I got out of the seat after we graduated, they had a little gathering in the on the lawn right in front of the mansion, and everybody was there. All the family members, all the graduates, everyone was there. And I'm looking around thinking, how much longer do I have with these people. Now you got to remember, this is before Facebook. This is before all the ways that we could stay in touch with each other. So in my mind, most of these people I'm seeing for the last time. Now, some people are taking pictures and thrilled. They're laughing. They're just having a great time. They're excited about graduation. They're excited about starting their life in the workforce. Everything to them is bright and rosy future. And then for me, it wasn't. And little by little, just like a Friday, people started to go away. They started to disappear because it was time to go. And I saw the crowd dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. And because of being who I am, I was one of the last ones to leave. And I remember looking around. This is tough to remember. It really is emotional. But I remember looking around that campus and thinking, everybody's gone. And there won't be another Monday. Those depressed Fridays. At least there was another Monday coming. And I could say to myself, all right, you got to get through the weekend, and then you'll be back, and everybody will be back, and we'll have a good 5 days. Wasn't going to happen after graduation. So I remember driving home and just going into my room and crying and just not wanting it to be over. How many people at that same time were having a graduation party and having the greatest time with family and friends and doing all the fun things that you would do in a celebration? Maybe some people rented a hall and it was almost like a wedding. I'm crying in my room and somebody else is jumping for joy in a beautiful restaurant or a hall or whatever it is. Same day, same situation, same circumstances, two different reactions. It's the way it is. Some people see things as great, while other people don't see it as great. And it goes back to the holidays, before the holidays. Some people see Christmas as the best time of the year. And some people see it as the worst time of the year. I'm a big snow fan, and Rob is chatted in, which I always appreciate. Rob's always been a great supporter of this show, and he's a great supporter of my Facebook page, where he and I do some weather forecasting. And we love snow. I mean, we just love to track snow. We love snowstorms. We just enjoy it immensely. And we're in the minority. I think most people in this area can't stand it. They don't like snow at all. I mean, one of the prevailing opinions is, I can't wait till winter's over. I can't wait because I can't stand being cold, and I can't stand snow. I can't wait for summer. And and this is a guess, but it's probably 80% or higher that feel that way. So Rob and I are in the lower end of that. We're in the minority of 20% or so. And again, non-scientific, but certainly plausible that it's that tilted. So what if we do get a huge snowstorm, which is possible this weekend, and we're looking at a lot of things going on, and there's a possibility of a huge snowstorm followed by some incredibly cold air. And to me, that's exciting. That's something that I'm going to be checking models all week long. I'm going to be really excited. And other people are looking at it like, oh my goodness, I can't wait till May. It's the same area of the country. It's the same storm. It's the same everything, but there's two different ways of looking at it. I'm disappointed when a storm goes out to sea, or if we get the dreaded snow to rain, which happens in the coastal plain when you're in the big cities along the East Coast, from DC up to Boston. Unfortunately, if you're in the coastal plain and you like snow, you are right on the line. And it usually goes the wrong way for you if you like snow. Usually it goes to rain because we're too close to the ocean. So I really enjoy when we get a full old-fashioned snowstorm. I like to be snowed in. I like to shovel the snow. I like to go out. I like to watch it come down, all those things. And some people are totally different. I actually have a video from 1996. There was a blizzard in Philadelphia in 1996, and I recorded the day before, the day of, and the few days after that storm, just to have it to remember. I have it on YouTube. If you ever want to see it, it's the blizzard of 96, and you can put my name, Justin Mirigliani. And I think 54,000 people have watched that video. Now, on that day that I recorded it with a handheld camera and a VHS tape, which I was taking out of the camera, putting in the VCR, recording the news, taking it out, putting in the camera, filming outside throughout the day at 21 years old, just enjoying it like I was like a little kid. I didn't know that several years, well, more than several years later, 30 some years later, that 54,000 people will be watching that video that I was recording that day. And one of the things that I see on that video are people complaining. And they said, "Oh, this is," and then the newscasters too. "Oh, this is terrible, terrible, terrible. This is awful." And I'm not thinking that way at the time. I'm going crazy. I'm running up to my parents' bedroom, and they were watching TV in bed, and I said, "Oh, you're not going to believe this. You know, the storm is slowing down, and now it looks like we're going to get, close to 30 inches of snow." And it was great. I mean, for me, other people were devastated. They didn't want to be snowed in. They didn't want to deal with that. No, I don't hate the other seasons. I don't. I'm not upset during the other seasons, but winter is my favorite season. My point is, what's exciting to you, what makes you happy, what makes you elated, what gives you a spark, isn't necessarily going to give that to somebody else. And what gives them a spark may not give it to you. I try to keep these things in mind. I'm not always great at it. Not perfect at it by any stretch. But I try to keep them in mind because it's so easy to get wrapped up in yourself and think about how great something is for you when someone else is not feeling that way. And keeping that in mind makes you a little bit more thankful for the good times, but also sensitive enough to realize that other people might need to pick me up on the same day that you feel great. It just is what it is. That's the whole circle of life. Birth, life, death. Again, when somebody dies, somebody's born. And that there's joy, and then there's tremendous sadness. And none of us escape that. Not a single one of us. As we get ready to close up the show, a friend of mine is going through a really, really tough time. His mother passed away unexpectedly, day after Christmas, and he's really struggling with it. So the day after Christmas was great for me. We were having a good time as a family, watching movies and just relaxing. I mean, just kind of, you're over the Christmas rush, and now you're just relaxing and taking it easy. But for him, it's one of the worst days of his life. And one of the things he's been saying to me is, I'll never be able to enjoy Christmas again. I'll never be able to enjoy May again because his mother's birthday's in May and Mother's Day and all the things. And I try to explain to him as best as possible, because when you're in it, you probably can't think this way. But I said, or do say, this is right now seems like you can never enjoy Christmas again. You can never enjoy the month of May again. But that doesn't mean a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now that you're going to feel the same way. That maybe you'll just incorporate. Yeah, you're not going to forget that on December 26th, it's his mother's anniversary of death. You're not going to forget that. Just like my friend who was in the fire, he's not going to forget December 28th was the day she was in the fire, lost her husband, and then was seriously injured herself. But that doesn't mean that it's always going to be as acute. It's not going to be as strong all the time. So as we wrap it up, I just want a hope. And remember, this show is not about answers. It's about questions. I don't have the answers. If I did, I'd be a very rich person. And I don't think many people, if any, have the answers. But always remember that on your worst day, you'll get through it, and you'll have another great day. And on your greatest day, somebody else might be having their worst day. So think about them too, and be aware All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. We're going to come back next week. One quick thing I want to say is we're going to do, we have a show, a sports show that we're going to do with vintage sports, really a nostalgia type show. And we're looking for hosts or a host with me. We're going to do the show together. So if anybody is interested, just reach out to me or reach out to Dr. Jacqueline. We'd love to have you. Maybe we'll do some guests as hosts and see if somebody sticks and wants to stay. But that's coming pretty soon. We're going to do that this month probably. So just wanted to put that out there. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy it, and I will see you next Monday.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. Discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang. Creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting Brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio, is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time. Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. Showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.